Hi everyone, welcome back to the Power of a Hobby. I'm your host Don Fenton, and today I have another guest. Hi Karen, how are you?
Hey up, I'm grand at the moment actually. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Thank you for agreeing to come on and be a guest on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So Karen, if anyone, for those who don't know you, why don't you introduce yourself and tell them what you do?
Hello everyone. I am Karen from Pony. I do social media marketing training for small businesses from the point of view that no one's got time to do stuff for the sake of it or do stuff they hate. So let's all be positive with social media and bring more unicorns and sparkles into the world.
Oh no, love it. And the thing is, for those who don't know, we've networked for a little while, and the one thing I can say with Karen is that actually it's never a boring time we chat because there's normally a different character on screen. There's normally a different animal on her head. There's always something entertaining. So we'll see what happens today for those who are going to be watching on YouTube. Who knows? Who knows? So, Karen, what does the power of a hobby mean to you?
I think for me, as grown-ups, and like use that term as loosely as you want, because I've never grown up, to be fair, but there's loads of pressure, whether it's deadlines or responsibilities or things you've got to get done. And I think the hobby allows you to say to yourself, do you know what? I'm going to take a few hours out and I'm just going to have a laugh and I'm going to be creative or I'm going to do something fun. And even if you're dead competitive with your hobby, you do it because you love it. And there's not a lot of time, always in the week, where you can just have fun with your mates or on your own and just make yourself smile, really.
Love it. Yeah, and I think as well, I always talk about the fact is it becomes a part of you
Mm.
and what your identity is. And I was having a chat to someone this week about this exact theme. I think it was yesterday actually. And again, they were saying that it's a chance to actually smile and forget about everything else that's going on, really.
Yeah, it's sort of a break in your week, and it's sort of
Mm.
something you can potentially physically put in your diary. During this time, I'm not going to worry about anything else. I'm just going to focus on this thing, and everything else will be there when I come back, but I'm going to be more ready to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I love the answers we get on this because they're the same, but every person has their own slight twist to it.
Mm.
And I just love that question. So now we get to the point with you, Karen. So, so what is your hobby?
My hobby is playing role-playing games.
Right. Okay. I've never heard a lot about them. So actually, this is what I'm really looking forward to. So talk to me about what that looks like.
Well, there's lots of different forms of it, but the essence of it is that it's an interactive game you're playing with your mates or sometimes complete strangers, but your mates is better if you can. And everyone sort of takes on a role. You're within a specific setting and you'll just kind of go with that and see where it's going. So it might be it's set on Mars, you're all astronauts. It could be you're all elves and you're on a mission to save the world. It could be you're all squirrels and you've got to scamper to the top of the tallest tree. It could be pretty much anything. It can be dark, it can be funny. It's like if someone says they like playing video games, there's loads of different genres. Some people like horror games, some people like puzzle games. It's kind of like that. There's loads of different things you can play, but the agreement is with everyone, right, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, let's work together to get things done.
How so are these all online? Or are they or can this be obviously some of those things that you've just said, I can imagine, yeah, being online. Do you do some of this in person as well?
Yeah, well, there's loads of different ways to do it. So there are platforms you can do it online and you can see in front of you, this is a picture of the room we're in
Yeah.
to help you imagine it. Some people do it face to face with miniature figures on a table. Some people will full on act it out. So, if they're an archer, they'll actually have a bow and arrow, or some will have like a foamy sword to hit their enemies with. It sort of depends how into it you are, what sort of things you like doing, and also your budget, which can be a big thing because those foamy swords cost more than you think. Let me put that out there.
This is intriguing, and I've got so many questions. I have so many. So, in terms of you,
Mhm.
when did all of this start?
I think I was 12-ish, maybe 11, 12, when I was invited to join my friendly local gaming group. They were playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is a lot of people's first
That's
game.
massive, isn't it? That's absolutely
It's
huge.
so widely played, and like the newest edition, they've deliberately made it more friendly for new people to get into. And it's
Right.
like,
Okay.
yeah, like, and it's sort of things people can get their head around, if they've seen Lord of the Rings or the Dungeons and Dragons film or whatever else, they can get their head around, right, this is an orc, this is an elf, this is how we're working, this person's a sorcerer, they cast spells, this person's a barbarian, they hit things, and people can kind of get with that.
Yeah.
And I was the only girl in the group for quite some time, actually. Things have changed now, but back then that was definitely a thing. And it's kind of set up, you create a character. So I think my first character was a half elf bard. I didn't realize what a stereotype that was at the time, but I used the awesome power of the base to encourage my fellow adventurers and cast various spells. And every now and then I just chuck glitter at stuff, which is an actual genuine spell. I wasn't just being obnoxious. So it's like, oh, there's an invisible enemy. Chuck glitter at it, problem solved. So it's like you've got these rules, you've got this setup, what, but you can be creative with it. So sometimes it's like you can fight this enemy, or you can give them a pie and bribe them to let you go past, as sort of different ways to approach the same things. And you'll find that 100 different groups could do things 100 different ways. And sort of part of that is finding the group that you get on with. So it might be one with lots of humor. It might be one where everything's like a heist and you consider everything 57 moves ahead. Other groups will just be like, let's just go with it and see where we are. And you find the one you like, and that's the one where you can have a laugh and be yourself and explore what you want to explore.
Oh yeah, I just love the concept. I just think it's amazing where we can take something and yeah, you can just get yourself lost in it and just create something completely different.
Yeah, well, I've done it with my scouts as well. We did it to do their writer's badge because we had a lot of my scouts who weren't great at writing because they're dyslexic or because of attention span. We said, right, let's do an adventure. We're going to write it together. We can cover the poetry section if you write a spell, or someone did battle poetry for how they were going to freak out the enemy, and you've created a character there, so that's your background. We've worked together to make the story. You've talked to Fred the friendly fishmonger, so you've written some dialogue there, and we sort of got to the end of it and said, look, we all wrote a story together, here's what we all did, here's where we went, everything's grand, and no one had to put pen to paper. So that worked really well for my scouts and they loved it.
Have you brought your friends into this as well, or have you? So in terms of obviously what other people, and I'm very much a believer, right? Now I'm at that point where I know what my hobbies have done for me. And I know how they've supported me through other stuff that's gone on back in the real world, if we want to call it, that way. Do you, I suppose now, did you ever see yourself when you're, I suppose it's hard, but when you're 11 and 12, were you that hooked that you thought, actually, I want to just continue doing this? Did you ever, or do you look back now and go, wow, actually, I've been involved in something that started off as a birthday party as such and got into where you are now?
Um, It was always something I've enjoyed doing. And for me, there were specific elements I liked because I'm quite a flamboyant introvert and I quite like the acting and taking on the character. And, you know, sometimes it's fun to go, right, I'm going to be evil today. And there's no real world consequences. You know, I can go around messing up everyone's plans, just being generally horrible. It's part of the game. It's fine. There's no long term consequences. I kind of love that. I know some people who really enjoy that aspect of sort of a chance to be someone you're not. You know, you can be a superhero with
Yeah.
super strength or super intelligence. And I know that sort of helped people a bit with confidence, which sounds strange, but it's like, well, come along, do this, try things out. It's most groups are sort of quite safe spaces, and it's a level of involvement as well you don't always get with other things. So you can watch a film and if it's scary, you can go, oh, that made me jump. Whereas if you've played a horror video game and you've made the decisions that have led to that point, you can go, oh no, I feel quite bad. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that now. Oh, it's the same with role-playing games because you've made those decisions. You're far more involved with it than you would be. And for some people, that could be really cathartic. And I know I texted one of my friends after a particularly intensive game and went, I can't sleep. I'm mourning my fictional boyfriend. That was when we blew up Mars to defeat the Terminator. It was a very strange moment in
Oh,
my life.
that
But
us. Yeah. How did you recover from that moment?
it was like genuinely, I was very affected by it, which I later found that all happened because we did things that the person running the game hadn't thought we'd ever do. And we went down this whole plot thing. And he was like, why are you doing that? Okay, we'll go with that. But I'd not considered. And we just went totally off piece. And it was like, oh my gosh, but I was so invested in that game. And we played that for years with different generations of the same family and stuff like that. And I think a lot of these games will run for ages if you let them, or some of them are designed that way. So you start as your sort of noobish, not particularly powerful character, and as you go along, you become more powerful or gain more skills. So for some people, that's the aspect they like, is going, well, I want to be the most powerful character and I'm going to gain this and this as I go along. So I'm going to be really strong. And it's even the same group playing the same game, different people get different things out of it, which I think it's really helpful actually, that as long as you know within the group that this person is going to find the one spell or magic item or whatever to just annihilate the enemy, and this person is just going to do something bizarre and off the wall. And as long as you can work with that, it's like, yeah, do you know what? Let's accommodate everyone. I can't quite remember what the original question was now, but it's one of those things. Once you're into it, if you like it, you find other games, other settings, other ways of doing things. It's like, oh, I like this aspect of that one. I quite like that one. And that's a great setting. So you can start off playing one thing, play something else, and then someone will go, oh, do you want to play this one-off game in which you play a cat? And you're like, yeah, let's be a cat. Brilliant. It's just sometimes it's what you need that day, and sometimes it's what you want to do as an ongoing thing. So it doesn't have to be a lifetime commitment or anything, but it's like anything. If you get into it, you do a bit more of it, you look a bit more into it, find other things, you might find another group to play with. And before you realise, you're doing a lot more than you thought you were, actually.
But I think that's the beauty of a hobby, and that is a hobby. Actually, sometimes it's doing things when you need it.
Yeah.
Other times you get into a routine because if it's a sport or something, or it's every Thursday or it's this time of week, actually you make that commitment because actually one you enjoy it, and two, it makes you feel good, and it enables you to be in a different world as such as well. So in terms of friends, and you say you prefer doing it with your own friends, or do you prefer, I suppose, because there must be millions of people do this probably?
Oh, yeah, easily. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be friends. There's certainly people I've met through games who have definitely become friends over time,
Yeah.
which is, I think, for some people, that's the thing as well. If you move into a new area and it's like, I don't really know anyone, it's kind of an excuse for everyone to get together and do something, especially if you're not necessarily the most sociable person. I know some people, if you said, right, come down the pub and chat, they'd be like, no, what was our chat about? I don't know. Whereas if you said, right, come and play a game, it's like, I know how to play games. I could play games. So it can be a great way to meet new people. I think you have to get on with the group you're playing with, because it's like anything, if you joined a football team and you hated everyone else on the team, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And there are lots of things you can do. So friendly local gaming shops will often have things you can sort of drop into, or you can sort of go online and say, I'm looking to play, I don't know, a fast-paced game set in a cyberpunk dystopia, and find some other people who want to play that as well, and you can sort of join up. And I always suggest to everyone having, unless it's a one-off game when it's literally you're going to play once for a few hours, if worse comes to worse, it's only a few hours of your life. But if you're playing an ongoing game, you want to know that the group's right for you. So, and we've always done something called a session zero. So with the group who I've been playing for about 10 years now, we originally met in the pub. And it's like, right, let's see if we all get on, because that's a big thing. And also because we're playing face to face, then it's like, if you give me weird vibes, I'm not going to give you my address, sort of thing. So, we did that. And then we looked at what we wanted from the games, what sort of pace people played, what they enjoyed, but also in terms of mental health and safety, if there's anything you don't want to cover. So if you've got a phobia, then, let people know. And it's quite easy to make sure that's not in the game usually. Or if there's something you're concerned about, or certain aspects or things you're like, don't do this, I will not enjoy it, then people can accommodate that. And, like, I quite like playing some horror and darker games, but there are certain things, if it's like, right, we're covering this, I'm like, no, that's not fun. I do not like that. That will just upset me. No. So right from the beginning, just you can be open and say, I don't want to play this sort of game. I'm not interested in this. And it maybe they go, well, that's what the game's about. And maybe it's not a great fit. Or they may go, yeah, do you know what? We can just miss out that bit in chapter 3 and gloss over this a bit. It's about, because you want it to be fun. You don't want, when it is that immersive, you don't want someone to feel panicky or upset, or, if someone's processing trauma or something, you don't just want to dump something that's going to upset them in their lap. Like if someone said, oh, I'm scared of dogs, I wouldn't launch a big dog at them and go, right, get over it. It's just not how you do things. So I think it's starting out, certainly just put that on the table. If you know there's something you don't like, if you don't know, we have something called an X card, like I think quite a lot of groups have. If you come across something you're not happy with and you want to opt out, you can just sort of say that, no questions asked, because you don't always know what you might find upsetting.
Yeah.
Or equally, you might be having a bad day, and also you don't want necessarily to play a game where on this session you're going to face this and this, and then the next session this and this, because there's less fun in playing it because there's no surprise, you know what's coming, things like that.
It's just, I'm just dumbfounded by it all, because it's just so big. It is just so big, and the thing is, what you obviously do is you'll get people playing on their Xboxes and PlayStation and all these sort of bits, and doing their own little games. But actually, then to think that now you can do these other types of games with a larger group of people and everything else. Yeah, I know you can play people online, sports games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this is just so much bigger. And it's also one of those now, because I've been thinking about, obviously, doing the podcast, is actually trying to have a go at some of the hobbies that people are talking about.
Oh yeah.
And just having a go, because this is the whole idea of the podcast, was to highlight the different types of hobbies, because there are so many, and actually within reason anything could be a hobby.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just got me thinking, and certainly the last probably couple of months, going, actually, it might be, I might consider having a go at some of them just to see what they're like. Because what happens is I talk to people like yourself, and because it's something you enjoy, people suddenly start glowing.
Yeah.
And start getting excited and being able to go. I think it was Naomi who went, I've just sat here talking about my hobby, and it's just made me smile and excites me. And because we don't get a chance, it's very unusual to be able to come on and just talk about something you like for 20, 25 minutes. And that's fundamentally, that's what we're doing. We're talking about something that excites, that you enjoy doing. You want to portray that to other people and actually show people what's out there, really. So how easy is it for, say, myself to go, you know what, actually, I am going to do this, and it may become a podcast or a video podcast, me doing all these bits.
Yeah, that would be great.
All these sort of things. How easy would it be for me to go, oh, okay, right, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, I think the key thing is just sort of talk to people, see what opportunities are out there. It's so easy in some ways with everything online now, because, you know, if you really want to go, I don't know, you want to put face paint on dolphins, you could probably go to facepaintondolphins.com and there's 1,000 other people who are like, yeah, that's totally what we do. Come and join us. Here's where you can find your beginner's dolphin face painting kit or whatever else. And, you know, it's all kind of out there. And that's the thing, like if you like something and someone in another country likes that thing and someone up north likes something, you can all kind of connect up, which I sort of love. But also I think there's always that slight thing that if you say to someone like, I want to start a sport, and you speak to someone who does long distance running, they'll be like, oh, long distance running. If you speak to someone who plays tennis, they'll be like, oh, play tennis.
Yeah.
But there's that option to try things out and also see what's involved as well. So like for instance with role-playing games, there's loads of podcasts out there, we can listen to them and go, oh, okay, that's the sort of vibe I'm getting from that game, I'm kind of interested in that, there's an idea of the rules. And there's lots of sort of drop-in sessions where you can sort of come along, join a group for a few hours, see if it's for you, see if it works, give it a go. And that's the thing, sort of not everything's going to be for you. There might be some things where there's just too many rules, it's too complicated. Like there was a game my friends were playing, I said, oh, what kind of game's that? And they said, yeah, it requires at least some postgraduate astrophysics. And I was like, yeah, no, yeah, that's not a game.
I'm going to park that one there, that's fine.
That sounds great, but not for me.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
just go up there, see what's available, see. And loads of places do taster sessions. So, you know, you can try a game, try a sport, try an activity. And there's that sort of thing that you can just sort of see if it's for you. If it is, you can do a bit more. If not, no hard feelings. I think that's actually a great way to approach things, with the mindset that I'm not committing myself for the rest of my life. I'm just sticking a toe in, seeing if I like it. And I don't even need to buy the equipment, which can be another thing. You know, sometimes you start a new hobby and you spend thousands of pounds on stuff and then you go, actually, I don't like this that much. So
having worked in children's sport for so many years, or coached and volunteered and worked, that's always the biggest driver, because personally, from a sport world, I think there's a sport for everyone. But actually, the only way you're going to work that out is by trying different sports.
Yeah,
but then
absolutely.
As a parent, you go, a picture came up of my eldest, and I think 8 years old, I had her in the rugby team, because being a rugby, I was like, yeah, come up, you'll love it and it'll be great. She played one game. It was a picture after her first game, and that was probably 5 years ago. Now she plays girls football, which I've got no problem with, and I'm now a football parent, but different world. But again, it's the amount you spent on kit, the boots, the membership, all these sort of things. And, especially nowadays, parents can't afford all of that. So we say, actually, there is a sport and you want to try all these things. And I think you do want to try things, but actually there comes a cost to it all. And it's probably the same in every single hobby. Karen, before I let you go, because the time's flown by already. I can't believe it.
So it has.
I know. It's amazing. When you enjoy what you talk, when you talk about what you enjoy, time just goes. Time just goes. So the last question, if you met someone who wanted a hobby but hasn't got one and wouldn't know where to start, what would you say to them?
I think sometimes it's thinking back to what you enjoyed doing as a kid, because as kids, we're more able to try things. We don't sort of feel those barriers. So, do you like being creative? Do you like making a mess? Do you like talking to people? Do you like running around? What is it that interests you,
Yeah.
and then sort of looking to other things that involve that. There's some great diagrams on Reddit, actually. It's like, do you like being outdoors? Do you like being indoors? Do you like being scared? Do you like inflatables or whatever? And you can sort of go down, it will suggest things to try, and then just see if you can get a trial session or a taster somewhere, or like even a short course or something,
Yeah.
you know, where everything's going to be provided. Give it a go. If you do want to get more into it, that's great. If not, it's something you've ticked off the list, or it may be something you could recommend to someone else. So, you know, it was a bit fiddly for me, but I know my mate Jeff would love it.
Yeah, no, love that. For those who want to touch base or find out more about what you do, where can they connect with you?
All over the place. If you look for pony or pony courses, 9 out of 10 times it's me. Occasionally it's someone who's really into My Little Pony. I'm not responsible for them. It's not my fault. But if it is me, yeah, just get in touch, drop us a message. I'm quite happy to have a chat. It's all good, really, isn't it?
Amazing. Karen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And to be honest, we could have gone for another half an hour, to be fair. Because I've been
Yeah,
so
I think
intrigued.
that'll be the extended After Dark version.
Or we'll do it. Or we'll do it online via a game. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you,
committed to
everyone else.
that
Yeah, no, but I'm going to do it. I've been thinking about it. It's definitely something we're going to do.
Yeah.
So definitely something we're going to do. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone else, for tuning in or watching on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify or any of the other downloads. If you want to touch base with me, obviously just drop me a message. If you want to have a look, listen to the older episodes, please do. If you want to like and share, please do. And I will see you again for another episode of The Power of a Hobby. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.